Every education system is designed to suit its prevailing environment. In Zimbabwe, the country inherited an education system that worked perfectly for the colonial masters. After attaining independence, the inherited education system slowly began to be irrelevant as it did not change with the changing environment.
What is our inherited education system? What is it? Which is our inherited education system? Traditionally, education in Zimbabwe has not resulted in any direct development of industries. Fact. Specifically, there has been a disconnect between knowledge gained in the higher and tertiary education system and the local environment. Thus, the education system resulted in churning out graduates that are work ready for other systems and not the local environment. Why? Because we are using a colonial design. What is that colonial design? Teach, research, and community service. What is the design? Ivo kwavo vanoita kwazvo nemazvo. From idea to product. But then they design a system. They bring the system to Zimbabwe. What is the perception of a Zimbabwean, therefore, or any other person in a colonial setup? They will see industry being set up. They don't connect it to mean that this industry was developed at a university somewhere. Therefore, industry seems like it's falling from the sky. But no, it's coming from a university system somewhere, which is a full terms of reference. Only that our universities do not have full terms of reference. So the graduate that you produce says, I want to go and work in an industry. Yeah, industry doesn't fall from the sky. Industry haidonhi kudenga. Industry inofungwa nomunhu. Kana ichigadzirwa nomunhu akazvarwa nomukadzi, pano usina kuzvarwa nomukadzi, sei iwewe wakazvarwa nomukadzi uchingotsvaka basa kuvana vavamwe? That is the problem. Those are the systems. But in the colonial setup, it was working very well. Because all what they wanted you to do was to come and work in their factory, be good at English, and then you can come. You know, that's why there's this controversy about English and so forth and so on. In the past, sometimes when you look at it, being learned was being equated with a person that can speak very good English. But when you were born, did you go to school to learn this in the bed? You just were born, you drank from your mother's teat. After some time, you started saying mama. After some time, you started saying baba. After some time, you started to say everything. Did you go to school to learn your mother tongue? Education is about concepts. It's not about language. That's why folly is a concept. You will find that in every language in this world, which are more than 10,000 or more, everybody has a word for folly. So folly is a universal concept. You can say folly in English, udona. In Shona, you can say what in Debele? Uwa, kuwa, chikaranga. It means it's a concept. That's why the Japanese make Toyota. Do they speak English? The Chinese make spacecraft. Do they speak English? The Russians make all sorts of technologies. Do they speak English? No. So why is it that you need to speak English before you go to school? That's why sometimes people end up saying, this one cannot speak good English, therefore cannot enter an engineering course. I used to suffer a lot. I was born in the rurals. And people will be talking about, when you are being taught alphabet, A for apple. And they are nobody want apple. You've never seen an apple. But your lecture, A for apple. So unofana kutanga wadzidza kuti apple chi. Anditika? Kana kuona kuti apple chi pa picture. Wozoziva kuti A chi. Do you see that route? But if you say A for amarula, ndairya mapfura nezuro ndinomaziva. So learning becomes such an easy thing. Language is functional. It's meant for communication. Language is not science. Science is not English. Science is not Arabic. Science is not Shona. Science is not Russian. Science is not Chinese. Science is science. It means it's made up of concepts. So sometimes because of the wrong design, we end up demanding things that are not necessary to be demanded. For example, I've said, I quoted controversy in January 2018 when I said, you should relax maths entry for polytechnics. What did I mean by that? I just meant, if you are doing tourism, where all things are about courtesy and so forth, do you need maths for that? Even if you have got 10 A's, including an A in maths, what we are saying is that it cannot be used as an entry requirement in the tourism course. We are not saying people should not do mathematics, never. Mathematics is very important, but don't ask for it when I want to do a degree in Shona. So, I mean, that is the logic. We have been so used to bottlenecks in our systems that we think that if people are few, it reflects the high quality of a thing. It's a colonial mentality of saying, the first black this, the first white this, the first black this, the first black this. Then we think that you have to be the only one. No. If you have to change a nation, you have to change many people. We don't need few people. So we need a flood of people in every profession so that the best does better. Now I want to talk about exactly how we have reconfigured it. Based on the results which we have looked at of the National Skills Audit, of understanding design of education systems, and our need as per His Excellency's leadership, which is saying Zimbabwe must be an upper middle income economy by 2030. We said, you cannot run with a hexagon as a wheel. A hexagon is not a wheel. A wheel is pi r squared, which means it's round. So, ukatora vhiri rinotenderera, ukatora hexagon, ukaitsveta pamota, haifambi. So what we are saying is that the issue is in the design. You cannot design a wheel which you call a hexagon, tsveta mota one. Hapana kwairikuenda mota iyo. So what we are basically saying is that the issue is in the design. We have reconfigured our education system. How have we reconfigured? We have added 2 more missions. Teaching, research, community service, innovation, and industrialization. And what have we done? Because, I want to explain again. Teaching, research, and community service, these are budget items. So we were budgeting for our education. When we were sending money to universities, we would say, this is money for teaching, this is money for research, this is money for community service. So how were we expecting our universities to make remote controls? How were we expecting our universities to make things like this? They wouldn't, because there was no budget for it. The design was wrong. So people end up dancing around in the street, give me a job, give me a job, give me a job, because you never taught them how to make a job themselves. Now, what we have done is that we have done now a program of, because research is done in laboratories, we already have them. Teaching is done in lecture rooms, we already have them. Community service is done at conferences, we already have conference rooms. But we need an education that produces goods and services. So we need to innovate. So in innovation, what we are looking at is we have started building innovation hubs. We have an innovation hubs program. We have started with 6 state universities. Chinoy University of Technology, HARARE Institute of Technology, National University of Science and Technology, Midland State University, University of Zimbabwe, and National Defense University, Zimbabwe National Defense University. We have started a program of building innovation hubs in order to cater for the fourth dimension of our education. What does an innovation hub do? In an innovation hub, good ideas that are coming from research are taken to the innovation hub for purposes of one, being technically vetted by experts whether they are good ideas. Number two, being legally protected if it is found to be an extremely good idea. Number three, to be marketed. So the product of an innovation hub is a prototype. We did not have a system in our education which was recognizing the production of prototypes, which says University of Zimbabwe has made a new remote control for air conditioners. That remote control, once they have been able to make it and the innovation hub has certified it, we have told universities, remember innovation hubs, they have a lot of space, but it's not for teaching. It is education, the fourth point of our education, 4.0. Only legal protection, technical evaluation, and marketing is done at the innovation hub, together with industry and other government departments. This is where Zimbabwe's industrialization agenda will be born. This is where Zimbabwe's industries will be born. And remember, we said at our innovation hubs, we are following the heritage-based philosophy. This is where we are going to make juices that are based on Zimbabwe's fruits that we don't irrigate. This is where we are going to propagate Zimbabwe's food that we don't import. This is where we are going to beneficiate Zimbabwe's minerals so that they are going to be bought at a higher price. This is where Zimbabwe's ideas are going to converge for the rise of this country in the innovation hub. All what we do is that our education shall be heritage-based, whereby we say, why do we suffer with fuel when coal can be converted into fuel? Why do we suffer with importing fertilizer when actually ammonium nitrate can be made from coal? But coal yokuvesa moto. So what we are saying, if our education is redirected properly, it will do wonders in this country. I call it getting out of the cage. And with that is when the idea of Education 5.0 was then born. And that is where the idea of saying, then how do we make sure that Education 5.0 works? That's when we talked about its implementation strategy. In other words, what we are saying is that we have redesigned our education out of the realization that the game is won or lost at design stage. Octagon haisi viri round. Ukatora octagon ukatoita pamota hapana kuenda inodiga road. Nokuti inenge ina makona. So tatiri busy kuda kudriver ne octagon. Haiti. Education 3.0 is a pure colonial design. Education 5.0 can make us reach Vision 2030. In Zimbabwe, we have said our education system is to produce goods and services, which in turn improve people's lives. Therefore, our design from Education 3.0 to Education 5.0 is expected to produce the required results for modernization and industrialization. I think I'm making it very clear that badzandero kulimisa arisiri kuchekesa nyama. Saka ziva kuti kana uchida kucheke nyama unoda banga, kana uchida kurima unoda badza. So design is everything. Education 5.0 is designed to produce goods and services, as said and directed and authored by His Excellency. In order to guide the implementation of Education 5.0 and industrialization, the ministry produced this doctrine that I talked about. So, but in order for us to make sure that we industrialize Zimbabwe using Education 5.0, there are conditions that we had to meet. One thing that we had to meet was to make sure that our education is well structured in terms of its programs. Then what did we do? We did what is called the Zimbabwe National Qualifications Framework. What does it mean? All what we are trying to say is that in the Zimbabwe National Qualifications Framework, it's a very important thing to ramp up our program infrastructure. We are saying our education must have predictable order and be transparent in itself in order to be trusted by the outside world. If in our national qualifications framework we are saying our students, because our education was disjointed between polytechnics, teachers' colleges, and universities, we are saying a university normally takes students from A level. When a student from polytechnic with a national diploma goes to the university, they actually would treat that student as an A-level student. It means they have to start anew. But if they were doing civil engineering at polytechnic, why should they start every module at university? So the national qualifications framework is saying, no. There's something wrong with this design. If a student is coming from polytechnic, let's say they were doing civil engineering, and they are going to university to do civil engineering. The civil engineering degree, which is being offered, is to recognize that this student already has an civil engineering qualification. It means they have to be exempted from certain courses. It means their stay at university is less than the stay of a person who is coming straight from A level. This is which is the vertical migration of our students, is being assured through the Zimbabwe National Qualification Framework. It is unifying Zimbabwe's education system. It's making sure that our education system recognizes prior knowledge. The other issue which it requires, there are three things that it requires. This one which I've talked about, assuring vertical migration for our students. And the other one is that each degree, each certificate, each diploma must have a minimum board of knowledge. Haungangopindi kunoita program usingazivi kuti ichazodii kana wapedza uye mukati mayo munei. So what we are saying is every program must have a board of knowledge and board of skills. It tells you uchaziva zvakati, uchagona zvakati. That's what it means. You'll be able to do this and you'll be able to know this. That's again joining the mind and the hands. Education with skills. So it's now a must to have that. The third is horizontal comparability of qualifications. It means if you are doing civil engineering at the University of Zimbabwe and you are doing civil engineering at NAST, these degrees must overlap 70 to 80%. We can't have civil engineering in civil engineering yangu ndio ku NAST, in civil engineering yangu ndio ku UZ. Civil engineering in Zimbabwe must be civil engineering. It therefore means these degrees must overlap 70 to 80%. It therefore means they must have common courses 70 to 80%. The 20 to 30% difference must just be due to speciality. Let's say the University of Zimbabwe says we want to specialize in water engineering, but the NAST is saying we want to specialize in road construction. Yeah, that's civil. That is the difference that they can have. But then it means a student, for example, a student does their first year, and all of a sudden they have to go to Bulawayo due to certain circumstances. It means they can just go to NAST and continue with their program. This is what we want our education system to be, right? So that's the Zimbabwe National Qualifications Framework. In order to make sure that this is followed, we actually made statutory instruments. Statutory Instrument 132 of 2018 under ZIM-Chair, Statutory Instrument 133 of 2018 under ZIM-Sec, Statutory Instrument 137 of 2018 under the National Manpower Planning and Development Act. to cater for polytechnics, to make sure that universities begin to revise their regulations. Polytechnics begin to revise their regulations. Polytechnics are not a big problem. It was the transition from polytechnic to university that we are trying to solve. So, it means between August this year, 2019, and February 2020, we expect the universities to comply. And this is going to be enforced by ZIMCHE to make sure that our university system and our polytechnic system is a unified system, which is seamless in terms of the way we are going. So this is a very important reform that we have done. It basically means our education now is transparent within itself. Haungoendi kuchikoro woudzwa kuti pinda asi hauzivi kuti uri kupinda kuti uitei, hatidi vana pinda ufe. Unofana kupinda kuti ugoziva ugoita. Ende kana waita kuita kwacho ndi modernization and industrialization. We can't have just people who speak smoothly without doing anything in this country. Speaking and complaining will never do any good to this country. It's about doing things. That is very important. So that's one, program infrastructure. Number two, we have also unified the promotions infrastructure of our professors. Everybody in this country will be promoted using the same criteria. We used to have a situation before 2018 where a professor at Chinoi is being promoted using different criteria from a professor at Manicaland and from a professor at Great Zimbabwe. So what is a professor? And they are getting money from the same fiscus, same government. So I think the system had gone mad. So because of that, we have unified the promotion procedures. And on 27 July 2018, 3 days before the elections, we signed an ordinance where all universities have got the same promotions criteria. We're happy with it. Programs, we sorted. Then promotions, we sorted. Then the next thing that we needed to sort was infrastructure. Because students, we have got about 180,000 students. 180,000 students, and out of 180,000 students, only about 15,000 of them are in accommodation. We did a very thorough study. This one, as we started in December when we arrived. This study shows the state of infrastructure at our universities and colleges. 180,000 students. Only about 15,000 of them are in student accommodation. That is the result of this. You know, ED doesn't plan things based on hearsay. We look for evidence. We are the V11 people. So we then said we need to have a comprehensive infrastructure development program. And we started this vision of university towns. We said our students should be at the best infrastructure. So the ministry would then engage investors to develop state-of-the-art infrastructure for higher and tertiary education institutions through PPPs, build, operate, and transfer models, build, own, operate, and transfer. And we are executing what we call the concept of university towns, university cities, and so forth and so on. What we are doing in terms of infrastructure is to invite the private sector. The simple logic was, when this excellence was saying, does government have to own a building at a university? Or do we have to have good buildings at university so that our students can learn better? We need a good building. That's how we have attracted the private sector. And at this moment, this is selling like hotcakes. The private sector just loves it. We have promises of infrastructure. We have already signed certain agreements with, we are going to build NAST Medical School. We are going to make sure that the cranes at NAST, which have been standing for 20 years, start doing some work. We are going to build a lot of infrastructure based on this. Because without good infrastructure, you might have good professors, you might have good programs. But if you don't have good infrastructure, it doesn't make a good investor. And the fourth thing that we said is financing infrastructure. We then started asking banks to start giving loans to our students. But we discovered there was a problem with this one. Because banks were issuing loans only to those people who would have produced pay slips. But we said not every Zimbabwean is a pay slip. So there was a problem. But that was the condition. So, but the budget had already been done, in 2018. So we said, now, and we also looked for money from South Africa. We got about 10 million US dollars for our student loans. But the conditions of the loan giving was still a problem. So what did we do? We then went on to ask for what we call a risk fund facility from the Ministry of Finance and Economic Development. They gave us 8 million. I'll tell you what we are doing with this 8 million. We will put it in a bank, deposit all of it in a bank, and that bank will tell it, this is a risk fund. Please issue money that is 10 times more than this 8 million to our students to go to school. In the chance that a student fails to pay, you may take some as your buffer until that student pays. I think this is okay now as a model. So we are implementing this, and we hope to finish the bureaucracy of this within the next month or so. So this is the financing infrastructure that we are saying. So what is the ultimate aim? What are we constructing? We are constructing a higher and tertiary education system that should be a marvel for Africa. We are building on literacy to skills, and we are building to Education 5.0. Education 5.0 is our best bet, which can take us out of the cage of Education 3.0. We think if we have solved our physical infrastructure, our program infrastructure, our promotions infrastructure, our financing infrastructure, we are ready for one thing. Ta-da-da. Studying Zimbabwe. As you know, Australia's 4th largest export is education. Zimbabwe's largest strength is in education. So, when we have sorted our education system like what we have done, and we have gone to Education 5.0, we are now in the system. This is a draft copy of Studying Zimbabwe. So, we now want to attract regional students into Zimbabwe, and they pay foreign currency into our system. Just imagine you have 1,000 students in Zimbabwe, each paying $1,000. That's $1 million US dollars. I'm just showing you the direction in which we are going. That basically means when we have sorted this out, Education 5.0 Study in Zimbabwe program will be our trump card. And we've already designed it, because what we are doing is we are documenting every step that we take in our education system. We are documenting it so that we don't forget why we started a certain process.